City, it's Wednesday. Good morning, America.
All eyes are on the sky for an incredible celestial event, a total solar eclipse. Maggie Rulli with a bucket list assignment live in the Blue Lagoon in Iceland.
Yeah, she's got the best assignment this morning. Also ahead, we are tracking the moments of hope amid all that devastation after that earthquake in Colombia. Faith Abube is there live as we see some very remarkable rescues on the ground.
But we do begin here with the severe storms on the move. Ginger standing by, tracking the path after the Midwest was hammered overnight with flooding and powerful winds reaching up to 100 miles per hour. First, though, Alex Perez starts us off in Chicago with a look at the damage. Alex, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Wade. Officials believe there were at least 3 tornadoes that touched down. There are massive trees like this one down all across the Chicago area. The storm rolled in and quickly left a trail of damage. A new line of deadly storms sweeping across the Midwest. Whoa! Bringing heavy rain, flash flooding, and destructive winds reaching up to 100 miles per hour. Watch as the winds engulf an interstate in Columbus, Ohio, flipping this vehicle on the road. Wind gusts in Columbus reaching 82 miles per hour. A canopy at this gas station blown over. This neighborhood in Perry County inundated with floodwaters, roads disappearing, cars completely submerged. At least one person in the town of Roseville killed due to the storm.
This was an individual who died simply because they had an emergency and they could not get to that individual.
And in Indiana, officials say a home explosion may have been caused by the storm, killing a man. A trail of destruction in a Chicago suburb, roofs torn off homes. A tornado warning prompting an air traffic control tower at Midway Airport to evacuate.
Attention aircraft, we're going to evacuate the tower here shortly. I got you all in a place that you can hold.
Downed power lines across the Midwest, this house catching fire in Frankfort, Illinois. At one point, nearly 1 million customers in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky were without power. And sadly, a 4-year-old boy in Indiana was killed after a home fell on his tree. Unfortunately, many of the same areas are bracing for more severe weather today. Rebecca?
Yeah, very sad, and you get the sense for the power of that storm with those large trees down behind you. All right, Alex, thank you. We want to bring in Ginger now, and as Alex just said, those areas hard hit. They're going to get it again, Ginger.
Exactly, and to see those numbers yesterday, Sugar Grove, Illinois, with a 97-mile-per-hour wind gust. You don't even need that to take down trees, put them into homes and into power lines and cars. Today, we could easily see 60 to 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that's why we're concerned in many places. Waking up north of Omaha, Nebraska, the lightning flashing there. You've got severe storms there. Cincinnati, Ohio, starting to see the lightning creep in because, again, we've got these rounds rushing through. On top of the severe threat, we have the flash flooding happening. So Interstate 74 or I-75 closer to Lexington, please be safe if you're out there this morning. This is just the beginning. We have a big day ahead. Some general thunderstorms from Detroit to Cleveland over to Philadelphia today. But the severe stuff, the level 2 out of 5, goes from parts of Nebraska down through Bowling Green, Kentucky. Here's the timing. Chicago gets it again late morning through early afternoon. So that lunch hour, it is going to be potentially destructive into northwest Indiana again. This sinks to the south. Cincinnati gets hit later in the afternoon and tonight. Then back west, you add the threat of not just damaging wind, but also some hail. North Platte, Nebraska, up to Pierre, South Dakota, and the flash flooding. It's sticking around. You could see 2-inch-per-hour rainfall rates, Rachel.
Yeah, not out of the woods yet. Okay, Ginger, thank you. We turn now to politics. Voters headed to the polls on Tuesday for one of the biggest primary nights before the midterm election. Jay O'Brien is in Washington tracking the results. Jay, this was a big test, not only for progressives, but also for the president.
It really was, Rachel. 6 states going to the polls yesterday, but all eyes were on Wisconsin. First off, that Democratic primary for governor there, a major upset overnight that could have serious implications for the future of the party.
Overnight in Wisconsin, an upset for the Democratic Party's progressive wave and a surprise victory for the party establishment. Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong narrowly defeated by the establishment-backed David Crowley. Crowley posting overnight, "Wisconsin, let's get to work," and the state party chair calling for Democrats to come together, writing, "Tonight, Wisconsinites made their choice, and tomorrow, Democrats will unite around David Crowley." The primary was a nail-biter, Crowley only beating Hong by a few thousand votes, even as polls showed Hong with a comfortable lead. But many of the country's top progressives distanced themselves from Hong, who previously called to defund the police and in a 2020 since-deleted social media post wrote "Cancel Thanksgiving," saying it promoted colonialism. She's since said her views have changed.
Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve.
Crowley, the Milwaukee County executive, will now face off against Republican Congressman Tom Tiffany, endorsed by President Trump. Meanwhile, in neighboring Minnesota, the progressive candidate, Lieutenant Governor Penny Flanagan, capturing the Democratic nomination for Senate, a victory for the party's left wing heading into the midterms. And overnight in South Carolina, in a test of the power of Trump's endorsement, Darlene Graham, the sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, failed to win more than 50% of the vote in the Republican primary to replace her brother on the November ballot, despite the complete and total support of the president.
I've been accused of not being a politician, guilty as charged. I will spend the next 2 weeks of this runoff meeting with voters and, unlike some politicians, listening to their concerns.
ABC News now projecting Graham will advance to a runoff against Republican Congressman Ralph Norman.
So multiple tests overnight, but it's all really going to come down to who goes to the polls in November. And one more state where the president's endorsement came up short last night was Minnesota in the Republican race for governor. Mike Lindell, a close ally of President Trump's, who backed his baseless claims of election fraud, losing in the Republican primary overnight to the state Speaker of the House, Lisa Demuth. That was the Republican primary for governor. What?
All right, Jay O'Brien for us. We appreciate it. Now to the long-awaited return overnight of a former U.S. Marine who'd been detained in Russia since 2022. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz has the details from Washington. Martha, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. He spent more than 4 years in a Russian prison with 6 more ahead of him. But this morning he is back in the U.S. after a welcome home surprise by Trump officials. Overnight, former U.S. Marine Robert Gilman touching down on American soil after 4 years in a Russian prison. His plane met by U.S. negotiator and special envoy Steve Witkoff. Trump official Sebastian Gorka posting these pictures on X showing a gaunt 32-year-old Gilman given Trump paraphernalia, a cheeseburger, milkshake, and a cigar. When he first boarded the plane to freedom, Gilman was covered by an American flag with his mother at his side. His family said after years of horrible treatment in the Russian prison, he became essentially catatonic, unable to eat or respond, and suffering from a severe bout of pneumonia. President Trump posting on social media he had spoken to Russia's President Putin, and soon afterward, Gilman was given a pardon on humanitarian grounds. Gilman was accused of kicking a Russian police officer at a train station while intoxicated. Gilman said he had fallen ill and police hit him with a baton while on a visit to extended family. He was sentenced to 10 years behind bars.
When Robert was detained, it broke my heart. I just thought about how hard it was for him to be there and what he was going through.
Born in Poland to Russian immigrants who settled in Massachusetts, where Gilman gained U.S. citizenship, the family thanked President Trump and his team, as well as Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, for helping with his release. Gilman will be treated at a military hospital in Texas for physical ailments and for the emotional wounds he had to endure. Guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome home to him. All right, Martha, thank you. We turn now to the rescue efforts after that massive earthquake in Colombia. There may be thousands under the rubble there, and Faith Abube is on the scene. Good morning, Faith.
Yeah, good morning to you, Rebecca. There's really no rest for the weary here in Cali. What you're looking at behind me used to be a 5-story building, much of it residential. These are apartments. Right now, they're asking for quiet at the scene because they want to hear whether there are survivors.
This morning, dramatic scenes out of Colombia as rescue efforts enter their 3rd day after that devastating earthquake. Emergency crews working around the clock in a race against time to find survivors. A woman pulled from the rubble after being trapped for 36 hours under a collapsed building. Rescuers also saving this man buried under a giant slab of concrete. People here clinging onto these moments of hope, as officials say thousands of people are still missing, including 239 believed to be trapped beneath the rubble in hard-hit Cali.
And we're in the middle of an army of community volunteers who have been digging through this rubble nonstop with their bare hands and buckets.
The death toll rising, at least 224 killed after that 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck Monday, toppling buildings, crippling roads, and damaging health centers in multiple cities. The president of Colombia sworn in just last Friday, saying more than 1,600 homes across the country collapsed.
They've been working on that entrance for about 2 hours now. So, and his family, he said his family's here right now.
You're still looking for your family? And this is all of you guys together. How many of them are missing from this photo?
Mi prima Manuela, mi prima.
¿En piensas que ellos están ahí? And this has been emotional, painstaking work here at the scene here in Cali, but there have been moments of hope. More than 80 people have been rescued so far. A lot of these volunteers have not gotten any sleep. In fact, I spoke with one of them. He's been here since 6 o'clock last night, and he's still here. And so they're quiet right now, trying to see if they can hear someone beneath this rubble. A mountain of concrete and steel they're having to dig through with their hands, trying to get to survivors. And that window, that critical window, is closing in right now where they can be able to find those survivors. Rebecca.
Incredible just to see you there, Faith. Thank you for doing this for us. Rachel?
Really remarkable reporting. Okay, Rebecca, we're going to turn now to the details about the secret operation to get President Trump out of Turkey last month as he faced Iranian assassination threats. This morning, President Trump is now directly addressing the incident. So let's go to Chief Washington correspondent John Carl with what we're now learning. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Rachel. We're learning new details about that extraordinary step that President Trump took to sneak onto another Air Force jet and leave the original Air Force One as a decoy.
Overnight, President Trump answered questions about the clandestine plane switching ruse used to keep him safe from a potential assassination attempt from Iran. The president said it was the Secret Service and the military that made the call to sneak him onto a different plane as he left the NATO summit in Turkey last month.
It's only up to Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by Secret Service and the military. They wanted me to go on a different flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
The New York Times reports that U.S. officials feared the Iranians had information on Trump's whereabouts in Turkey and that they could target his plane with a surface-to-air missile. As President Trump was moved to another plane in a catering truck, the traveling press and most of his staff remained on the now decoy Air Force One, including Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Sources tell ABC News that both Bessent and Rubio knew that Trump had been taken off the plane because of a serious threat. Many others on the plane, however, had no idea what was going on. Overnight, Trump was asked about the threat to those that remained on what had been Air Force One.
I think actually the plane that I flew on was at greater risk. I think it was at greater risk because that would be the plane I think that they would be more likely to go for.
And now Democratic leaders are demanding to know more about what happened. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer is asking the White House for a briefing on the threats from Iran, including whatever it was that prompted those extraordinary measures taken to get the president out of Turkey. Whit?
Really something. John Carl at the White House, thank you. Now to a big change coming to a major university, all in the name of mental health for incoming freshmen. Will Reeve is here with the details. Will, we were talking about this, getting a lot of attention, this decision.
It really is. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. So the University of Michigan is getting rid of some final grades for the sake of students' mental health. The university announcing it's dropping first semester grades in an effort to, quote, curb the mental health crisis faced by many young college students. This is a pilot program. It's set to roll out in fall 2027. It applies to students enrolled in the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts. So that's about half of Michigan's roughly 8,000 first-year students. Now, class results will be displayed as either pass or no credit on transcripts, and students will still receive grades in the class.